So we have today's demo, and as always, let's start by reminding us why we are here. And we are here to make the Stacks blockchain accessible to everyone. And the way we have been doing this during Q2, it's we have a bunch of things as our goals, but what we have been doing during the past iteration is supporting the standards and also the token standards, and also improving a bunch of technical debt that we had. Probably moving forward, we're going to start tackling microblocks, which is on the list. So let's see, not this one, right? So we had, during last week, we had a mini hackathon for the team. And the idea is basically to walk the talk. So to try the things that we build, right? And it's not just building them, but also making sure that we understand and putting ourselves in our users and developer shoes and building something that uses the wallet. And that's something that we built during this first time is an application that is called Heckstack, and then we're going to demo that first. Then we're going to talk about the desktop wallet release that happened a week before the hackathon. We also had a release of the web wallet, and we are going to show the SIP9 support or SIP10 support, right? With token support, I think it's 10. And then the improvements on the state management and the reorg and rename of the repository. So with that, let me stop sharing now, and then Thomas is going to demo the app.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me find my screen. Okay. Can you see it? Cool. Yeah, so this is the app. I think most of you have seen it, but I'll go through it. So it's basically like a Twitter-esque sort of feed of messages. And the messages are stored in transactions that are broadcast on a network. The message itself isn't contained like within the blockchain, but instead it's the result of an event that fires during the transaction or once it's confirmed. So you can see this long history of messages, and I can sign in. Use this account. And oh, we see we have a new pending message from j.btc. Thank you. Add a nice little GIF too. I like this GIF. And then we have this nice little pop-up of the extension, little loading in the bottom, shows what you're going to do. You're going to transfer exactly one Hey, which is the fungible token associated with this app. And then it shows the function, arguments, and then your GIF attachment. Confirm that, and then oh, pops that up. There we go. Live, interactive. We can go up and like some of these messages. So I'm going to call the like message function. It's going to transfer one Hey from my wallet to their wallet. And then the argument is just the index of the message. And there's a little notification down here. So it's been liked. It's a little bit harder to get real-time information on likes because the result of it needs to kind of be confirmed before you can add it to the app. And then we go over here to the Explorer, and we can see the pending messages and look at them and see the contract and all that stuff. Yeah. And then I think Karen wants to talk about the contract itself.
Sure, yeah. Let me share my screen. All right, yeah, so this was really, I mean, I guess my first sort of fundable token I've created, at least with clarity. On the right side of the screen, you can see the token contract for Hey, which follows the SIP10 standard and does actually have a few other methods in as well, primarily distributing some test tokens to everyone that was working on it, as well as a gift tokens method, which is invoked by the sort of application Clarity contract, and that is this one here. Make it a bit bigger, which really just only has a few message sort of public functions I'll run through. So the first one is send message that Thomas just showed you, which prints a message, which is the way that the Heckstack application can read all of the messages. And it will also then increment the index so that each message has its own unique ID and saves to a map like a default like count of 0 and the publisher the publisher's principal, and that's needed so that when someone likes a message, the contract knows to whom does the one hey token get sent to. That's all handled in the like message. We have this transfer hey method, which interacts with the token contract to actually do the transfer. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Cool. And then Jasper, would you like to share some designs that you built for Hey or Heckstack?
Sure. I can be quick. So we've already seen most of it. So just what I did is I published a file to the community. That means that if you search Heckstack on Figma, you're going to be able to clone it and play around with it, or take parts out of it for your own app, anything you'd like. So we got all flows here on the left. These are the main user flows. And then here in the playground, you can play around with the states of all components. So you can toggle the states of these. So you can do on off, things like that. And then we have this left side panel. So you can play around with all that, and all the components are in here as well. You can take like a couple things that I don't think are in the app yet. Is we got replies. So you can reply to, you can basically add a person. So if you hover, we got the reply button, and then you can reply to a particular person or message. Other than that, it's pretty much, you know, what was built. So good job.
Thank you. Yeah, and then this application is going to be part of the documentation. So it's going to be a demo app to demo how to use smart contracts. And Patrick has been working on documenting everything and putting everything together for docs. All right, cool. So let's move to the other part of the demo. Let's talk. I'm just going to briefly mention it. We had a release of the desktop wallet 4.3 with the stacking flow updates that we showed last week. So for the web wallet, maybe we can talk about first. Thomas, would you like to demo the improvements we did to the zip10 support?
Yeah. Okay, I think it's the same desktop. Yeah, so the last demo we did, we walked through some of the initial changes to support zip10, which is the fungible token standard. That has been kind of, I think it's all resolved now and very solid, but it had a change kind of as I was working on this, where it now supports an optional memo field, so you can send a memo along with whatever the fungible token is. So you can see here, these two versions of the Heckstack token are actually compliant. I can switch over to testnet here, and there's two tokens here that are both compliant, but in slightly different ways. So the Stella the cat token is my token after my cat. That's fully compliant. It has optional memo. And then Rocket token is something that Friedger has made and has been using it to demo certain functionality. The biggest changes to kind of incorporate the memo happened to this component here. I kind of improved the design of it, kind of had it more in line with the other sort of list items that we have. And then additionally, you can kind of see, I have two versions of the Connect token here. and some other tokens. And right here, it only displays the tokens that the app can transfer, meaning other tokens that are not compliant will not show up here because you'll need to use some of the mechanism to transfer them, either their own contract or something else. It doesn't conform. Yeah, and last time, we saw the decimals and stuff were already implemented. But so Rocket is an older version of SIP10 that did not contain the memo field. And so you can see here, it's only got the amount and the recipient. But if you were to select Stella the cat, an optional memo field would show up so that you can send it if you need to. And then some other changes that were implemented would be, let's see, now when you send something that has a post condition for a token that conforms to the standard, it will fetch the metadata for it and display it here correctly in post conditions, where it did not do that before. So it'll take the correct ticker, the correct name, and the decimals. Yeah, that's everything for SIP 10. And then I was going to also demo some updates to the state architecture. So I have this PR open, which I hope to go through all of these conflicts today and fix and then get merged. But essentially, it's some fixes to the tech debt that we have had around kind of the organization of the state of the application. Basically, like a good example of some issues that we had previously were like, we had this one hook, which is basically a function that does some logic stuff. And it essentially would kind of, when you would sign a transaction, it would fire a request from the app. The extension would pull it open, and then it would like search for it and find it. And then it would kind of it would update the state and then concurrently try and check and see if it contained things like a custom network or like post conditions. And it would kind of do all of these things at any order based off of when kind of components would be rendered and stuff. And it was very prone to race conditions. So some things would like, maybe the network would update first and then post conditions would update second, or it would be inverted and result in a lot of error states that were really hard to predict. And so now the state has been updated such that those states are almost impossible. I'm fairly confident they are, in the sense that it's all it all happens at the same time, and only one version of the state can exist at any given time. And with all this kind of cleanup, a lot of files got moved around and kind of commented and documentation was updated internally. I also went through and kind of made this flowchart of kind of the way that a transaction request works, just because I have a pretty good map in my head of how it works, but I'm not sure that everyone else does. And so we can all kind of get on the same page. And so you can kind of follow through and just sort of see how all the state is interconnected and interrelated, and see how kind of these things will update automatically based off of sort of either actions or events from the user. And I think it shows that it's, our application is really just sort of a function of state versus like the state is a function of the application. Yeah, hopefully this will reduce a lot of our bugs and make it easier to kind of maintain.
Thank you. And then last, we have Farah, and she's going to talk about our reorg of names and structures.
Yep, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
Are you seeing my code, actually?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I feel like it's not highlighting it correctly on my screen. Okay. So basically, yeah, we wanted to stop and kind of tackle a bit more technical depth around messaging in the app. It's a bit complicated kind of in an extension, how messaging flows from the app to the extension. And it was a bit confusing how it was set up in our repo previously, and just it wasn't really probably likely going to scale very, very well. So we stopped and kind of refactored and renamed some things. So it's a little bit easier moving forward. So basically we pulled things out like the background script and anything dealing with that context is in this background folder now. And then we also pulled stuff out into anything dealing with the content scripts into a content scripts folder, and then the in-page scripts. And I think overall, the goal is then to put anything that deals with React actually in a folder called app. And so I think it's going to be easier. We actually added a lot of documentation in the code itself too, just to anyone who encounters it will be able to understand how messages are kind of flowing through the code a bit better. So I think it was a really successful refactor and update. And then the other thing we did is in Connect, actually, a lot of apps were asking to have access to the profile URL and the auth response. So we actually added this auth response payload. Instead of just delivering back the auth response string, we're actually delivering back a bunch of other data kind of unwrapped. And one of those things being the profile URL. So basically then on finish, that's going to be delivered back to the app and they have access to it.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, so let me stop sharing. Great job, everyone.